Hello guys, what's up? This is teacher Danny. Welcome to another English class. Today we are going to study the perfect tenses. The present perfect, the past perfect, and future perfect, alright? Especially how to make sentences using the auxiliary verb have with the verbs in participle past to refer or representate haber hecho tal cosa, okay? So let's get started. The first part that we're going to analyze is the auxiliary verb. Okay, the auxiliary verb that we have in these three topics are different. In the first part, we have and has that are the auxiliaries of the present perfect. Also, we have had. Had is the auxiliary of the past perfect. And finally, we have will have. Okay, will have is the auxiliary for future perfect. For these tenses, have means haber. Okay, take it in mind. And not tener, to work as the auxiliary verb of the perfect tenses in general. Okay, so have, has, had, and will have will mean haber in the general aspect. Alright, so let's get started with the present perfect. Remember that the present perfect refers to actions that finished in the past, but they have a possibility to occur again in the present. Also, we can say, the summary, they are actions in the past with relation in the future. Alright? So let's analyze some characteristics. Remember that the present perfect can be used for situations that started in the past and continue now. Okay? Situaciones que empezaron en el pasado y continúan ahora. For instance, I have lived in Querétaro for 3 years. Yo he vivido en Querétaro por 3 años. Okay, so it means that I started, for example, in 2017 and I continue living in Querétaro now, in this moment, in 2020. Okay, the other example is she hasn't had a vacation for 2 years. Ella no ha tenido vacaciones por 2 años. And the other is how long have you worked here? ¿Hace cuánto has trabajado aquí? Also, we can use the present perfect to speak about life experiences, experiencias de vida. For example, I have never tried octopus. Nunca he probado el pulpo. The other example is he has been to Cancun 3 times. Él ha estado en Cancún 3 veces. So I need to make a parenthesis in here, especially with the word to. To also means en before verbs like been. Okay? So this is not él ha estado a Cancún, sino él ha estado en Cancún. Ese to is en. The other example is have you ever broken a bone? ¿Alguna vez te has roto un hueso? Okay, the other usage of this topic is for past events with present consequence. Okay, so I've lost my wallet. Yo he perdido mi billetera, so it means that I can find it now. The other example, have you eaten yet? It's also to say, are you hungry in this moment? Okay, so this is like the past action and this is the relation in the present. The other example is, I have just finished the report. So it means that the report is ready. Okay, also you need to take in mind the keywords. The keywords are the time expressions that we use in present perfect or in the perfect tenses in general. So we can use for, so far, since, just, ever, yet, and already. For, por, so far, hasta ahora, since, desde, just, recién o acabar de, ever, alguna vez, yet, ya o aún, todavía, and already, ya. Okay? So, yet is aún o todavía y already only ya. Take it in. Let's analyze some expressions of time that are really important. The first one is for and since. Remember that with for, we analyze the period of time, the number or the time word. For example, for 10 minutes, por 10 minutos, for 8 hours, por 8 horas, for 5 days, por 5 días, for 6 months, por 6 meses, for 3 years, por 3 años, for 2 centuries, por 2 siglos. Okay, so you can have some examples like I studied English in Ireland for 2 years. Yo estudié inglés en Irlanda por 2 años. Okay, so you refer to the period of time. The other word is since, so they are really similar but different. So when you use since, you are referring the starting point at a time or a date. Okay, so since 8 o'clock, desde las 8 de la mañana, o las 8 en punto, since Monday, desde el lunes, since February, desde febrero, since 1982, desde 1982, since I left school, desde que salí del colegio, since the end of last century, desde el final del siglo pasado. Okay, so this is the difference of the usage. Also, we have some expressions like these ones: just, yet, still, never, already, and ever. The expressions that I was talking to you previously. So this is the position, and this is an example about how to use it. The first one is, I have just eaten a huge kebab. Recién me he comido un gigantesco pincho chuzo de carne empalizado. Okay, the other example is, she hasn't broken up with him yet. So remember that yet is used for negative sentences in present perfect, and we use it at the end. With difference, with just we use it between have and the verb, right? So, ella no ha terminado con él aún. Okay, so we have a similar expression, time expression, that is still, that means todavía, but we use it after the subject. Okay, so he still hasn't finished the first beer. Él aún no se ha terminado su primera cerveza. However, this is not very common, so I suggest you to use only yet and at the end. Okay, we continue with the other. We have never been to Kingston. Remember that when we use never, we always refer it in a positive way, in a positive sentence, because we cannot say we haven't never, because that is like a redundancy. Okay, so nunca hemos estado en Kingston. Remember that Kingston could be the capital city of Ireland, of Jamaica, excuse me, and also it can be a city in the United States, or a city in Ireland, or any other place with this name. So it can be the name of many places. So also we can say we have already played this game. We use already after the auxiliary have and before the verb in participle past. Okay, ya hemos jugado este juego. And finally we use ever. Remember that ever is siempre, but in this case we use it to refer alguna vez. So, ¿alguna vez has tú corrido en la lluvia o bajo la lluvia? Have you ever run in rain? Okay, so we use it in that way. Now we continue with the next topic. The next topic is the past perfect. So the past perfect refers to actions that occur before another action in the past. Generally, the last action mentioned is in simple past. Okay, so let's analyze some situations. First, let's analyze the grammar. For the grammar, we use the subject, had, and the verb in participle past. For the negative, we use it in this way. We add only not after the had. And for the questions, we write first had, subject, participle, and the colon. Okay? Examples. She had finished the test. Ella había terminado el examen. She hadn't finished the test. Ella no había terminado el examen. And the question, had she finished the test? ¿Había ella terminado el examen? So we have some usage, as I told you. This is really important. The most important is to describe an action finished before another past action. So we have an example and a graphic in here about the past perfect simple. And this is, when we arrived at the cinema, the film had already started. So we can separate the sentence in two parts. So we can separate them in here. The first one, when we arrived to the cinema, cuando llegamos al cinema, the film had already started. La película ya había empezado. So which action is first or occurred first? This action occurred first. Okay, the film had already started. This is the first action that occurred here, and after that we arrived. Okay, so I start with this sentence, but this sentence occurred after this one. So this is the context that you need to analyze about the usage of these tenses. We have another example. When he arrived to the train station, the train had left. Cuando él llegó a la estación de trenes, el tren ya se había ido. Okay, so it means we can draw it. The train left at 9 and I arrived, or he arrived at 9:15. Okay, so which action occurred first? He arrived to the train station or the train left? Yes, the train had left. This action occurred first than this one. Okay, so this is the particular issue about the past perfect. So we have another examples in here according to the usage that you can check. For example, John had gone out when his wife arrived in the office. John había salido cuando su esposa llegó a la oficina. Okay, so it means that this is the first action and this is the other action. Okay, the other, Julia had never been to an opera before last night. Julia no había estado en una ópera desde anoche. The other is, we had owned that car for 10 years before it broke down. Nosotros habíamos tenido ese carro por 10 años antes de que se averiara. The other example is, I got stuck in the traffic or in traffic because there had been an accident. Quedé atrapado en el tráfico porque había habido un accidente o porque hubo un accidente. The final example is that I had been to London twice by the time I got a job in New York. Yo había ido a Londres o había estado en Londres 2 veces para el momento en que obtuve o conseguí trabajo en Nueva York. Okay, so you can analyze the situations or the examples according to the usage. Remember that you can use these time expressions in the past perfect to complement the sentences. Okay, let's continue with the future perfect. What is the future perfect? The future perfect is to refer actions we have the certainty to be finished in the future. Okay, so it means that they are actions in the future that will finish in a specified time. Okay, so let's analyze some examples. Before of that, this is the grammar structure. So subject will have, that is the auxiliary, the past participle of the verb, and the complement. The negative form is very particular because we need to add not between the auxiliary. Okay, so this is won't have or will not have. The other is to write the questions. For the questions, we need to separate the auxiliary to include the subject. Okay, so we separate will and have, and we include the subject in the middle. Okay, so you can differentiate the positive and the question. So, he will have done it by this evening. Él lo habrá hecho para la noche, o para la noche. The negative question is, the negative sentence, excuse me, he will not have done it by this evening. Él no lo habrá hecho para por la noche. And the question is, will he have done it by this evening? ¿Lo habrá hecho él para por la noche? Okay, so here you can find the usage of this tense. The most important is like to talk about an action that will finish before a certain time in the future. Okay, by 8 o'clock tomorrow, I will have taken off for Japan. Para las 8 en punto de mañana habré despegado de Japón. The other is to talk about an action that will be completed before another event takes place. She will have learned Chinese before she moves to China. Ella habrá aprendido chino antes de que se trastee o viva en China. Okay? So also, we have some other example in here. He will have retired by the time he is 60. Él se habrá pensionado para cuando cumpla 60. Okay? So we have some examples, some other examples in here about the future perfect. For example, by the end of this year, I will have completed my degree. Para el final de este año, habré completado mi curso, mis estudios de educación superior, o habré obtenido mi diploma, something like that. The number 2 is, she will have gone to the market by 7 o'clock. Ella habrá ido a la plaza o al mercado como a las 7 en punto. Okay, the number 3, the children will have studied grammar lessons. Los niños habrán estudiado lecciones de gramática. Number 4, and you can continue with the other examples. Okay, so don't forget that this is habrá. Habrá sido tal cosa. This is the summary of the topic. So remember that present perfect is for acciones que se han realizado antes y pueden volver a pasar ahora, en el presente. And we use have and has as the auxiliaries. Remember that has is for third person. Past perfect, had for all. Acciones que habían sucedido, que habían sucedido, ¿ok? En el pasado antes de otra acción. And future perfect, acciones que habrán sucedido o finalizado en un momento